All right, here we go. So this is week 6 of plus manifestation because these calls aren't just going to be about manifestation. Um, I've been working with the title of this class grouping and what this actually is for me and what it truly holds. And I'm playing with the idea of calling it something like the alchemy of identity or something like that. And I'm talking about manifestation in a way that's more like how to create your life or yourself, not just like, I want $1 million and I want to manifest it. So I just want to bring that out here. I mean, I think everybody kind of got that idea around this topic last week, but I want to make sure that I'm not just talking about like I want to manifest a relationship. It's more like I want to change who my identity, my subconscious beliefs, my energy, who I am in order to have the fullness of everything that I'm asking for. Because what I know about what we're asking for a lot of times isn't really the truth or the true thing that we're asking for. So, one great example is a lot of times people are asking for more money, but it's not really the money that they want. It's more like they want the freedom and the peace and the ease that they think money's going to get them, right? So, a lot of times people will be like, oh, I'm lonely and I want a relationship. And it's not really the relationship that they want, but it's that they want more community or more connections or um, maybe a more deeper understanding of themselves. So that's really what I mean when I'm talking about manifestation here. And we'll go a little bit more into that tonight. Although we're going to dive deep tonight into expectations because I'm just running into a lot of expectations. And yes, some of them are my own, and then some of them are expectations of others that I'm bumping up against, and it's driving me fucking insane. So, I guess I wanted to talk about expectations tonight because one, I need to learn how to mm, be an allowance for other people to have them, but also understanding what my expectations are and to have the boundaries and the non negotiables when others have expectations and they're not mine and they're not true and they're not real, because a lot of times expectations come from our insecurities and our points of view and our beliefs and the programming. And so I think we really need to look at expectations also in the framework of manifestation, but because expectations will kill whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. And we'll go through that tonight. I was just looking back. Okay. Yeah, so like last week we went through um I'm going to the top of last week here. Hold on just a second. We went through somatic certainty, and we'll probably circle back around to some of this because these topics I just kind of uh, feel like I last week just brushed the surface of some of this, like our nervous system and our identity, um, dysregulation, why or who am I being when it actually matters? Like, who are you being? Um, doot, doot, doot. Yeah, we went through a lot of identity stuff last week. And then we also talked about, of course, it's going to happen, but that's different than expectation. And we'll talk about that tonight. And then last week, we also talked about the role of the observer, and even bad situations can be part of your manifestation timeline. So there's quite a bit that we went through last week. Again, I might circle back around to that if it makes sense to kind of tie some of those in future weeks. But tonight we're going to go into expectations, identity, and the physics of course it's going to happen. Before we get started, does anyone have any questions or anything that they want to say or want to share?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Are these classes going to be, do we have a time frame for moving forward? Just,
What do you
I
mean?
might,
Like,
I
like
was
how
just
much?
curious, like, are they going to be like an hour? Are they going to be an hour and a half? Or
Yeah, so
we
I'm
just,
probably going to do about the same time, an hour and a half, Natalie, but we'll see where we go. I might try to keep them around an hour, but um,
okay.
I mean, if you have to pop off, that's fine. You can get the replay if you want to. But I'm going to try to
I
keep
might
them.
have to tonight. I might have to tonight. I just wanted you to know in advance. I'm not trying to be rude, but
Yeah, no, that's okay. Thank you for letting me know. And yeah, so most nights they'll probably be around an hour and a half again. Um, Amanda, did you have something?
Something you said struck me, and I don't recall exactly what you said, but it was something like when bad things happening are like part of the path. Can you read that line again?
Yeah. So even bad situations can be part of a manifestation timeline.
Yes, that. I was listening to a podcast right before this, and one of the astrologers that I follow, Sabrina Lynn, was talking about our nose actually helping and informing our yeses
Oh
just
yeah.
as much, like so valuable when we encounter like nope, 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 nope. Ah, yes. Like it's part of manifestation is knowing our nose.
Well, and also take care in what you say no to because in remember in one of the very first weeks we talked about inspired and aligned actions,
Mhm.
and I think when we feel inspired we say yes more often, but sometimes those aligned actions can feel like something that you want to say no to. For instance, this is a really simplified version of an example of this, but yesterday, Quinn has a job right now with his dad, and it's in construction, and it's not a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, and he can't just, be moping around with his dad. He's really got to do some heavy duty stuff. So he had worked really hard for his dad last week. We had a good weekend off. He had Saturday and Sunday off, and then yesterday he and I had gone to a movie, and he afterwards he felt really tired, and he said, "I don't think I'm going to work tomorrow." And I'm like, "Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm." He's like, "Yeah, but I just don't feel like it." I'm like, "I know, but you've been asking for money for Spain. You've been asking for more money for this or that." And I'm like, why would you say no to this opportunity that just basically fell in your lap? It's not like you had to apply for a job. You didn't have to ask anybody for anything. Like, this is such an easy way for you to make money. And just because you're tired or you don't feel like it. So sometimes our no's can be really tricky. I've also learned too that a lot of times I say no and then I'll wait for a little while and I'll be like, shit, I should have said yes to that. Because at the time, maybe I didn't feel like being around people, or at the time, maybe I didn't feel like doing the task or the work that was going to occur. And then when the time comes, I'm like, oh, I actually do feel like doing that, or I should have done that, or I get. So your nose can still inform you, and either way you choose, it's never wrong. It's just, are we choosing to manifest in a way that's in alignment and will get us there quicker, or are we choosing to manifest in a way where how we feel like it? So yes, your no's can always help you manifest and inform you. Your choices are always going to give you information, and it, a no might take you around this curve, and if you had said yes to it, it would have been a direct route to where you're going, but you didn't feel like it at the moment, and so it was like a no. No's and yeses can also then be your boundaries too, and they're not always wrong. I think when you come into a knowing of, okay, for me with men and relationships, for instance, and manifesting a relationship, I'm definitely in a no with someone who is not a healing, like on a path of healing or healed individual. Like I've had enough fucked up people men in my life that I'm ready for one that, kind of has his shit together. So I'm willing to say no to that sort of when I know it's not going to be great for me. Like it would still manifest something, it would still get something to me for me, but I'm definitely a no. And so yes, when we say no, we are sculpting or telling the universe, like, this is our playbook, right? This is what we want, this is what we don't want. But also just be aware of when you're saying no to something, is it a no because it's in your knowing and it's a boundary and it's a creation no, or is it a no because you don't feel like it and I gotta show up today and I'm too tired?
Yeah. Thank you for that distinction.
Yeah. So I share that with all of you because I've found myself saying no to things when it was like, oh shit, I should have said yes to that. Later on, I had the awareness, but I had said no to it because I didn't feel like doing it. Okay, cool. Thank you for the question, or for that invitation, Amanda. All right. So expectations, identity, and the physics of course it's going to happen. So take a deep breath. Put a hand on your heart and a hand on your lower belly. And close your eyes and let your energy drop down into your body, into the place of where your knowing lives. And feel that space, that energy of knowing between every cell and in every molecule. And remember that manifestation and creation is in alignment with your nervous system. So if your nervous system isn't ready for something or can't receive it, it's not going to show up for you, not the way you think, not the way you're asking for. You got to be ready. So let your nervous system know that it can be safe. You are safe to receive. And remember that manifestation is like, it's tied to your identity. It's pattern mechanics. It's coherence. It's consciousness choosing itself on purpose. So last week we learned, don't force reality, don't chase outcomes, and don't beg the universe to pick you. You can organize your energy so reality has no choice but to rearrange around you. So expectations. So I'm finding that expectations is one of the biggest destroyers of manifestation across every lineage, every teaching, every tradition, and in every field. So, if think about culturally, think about socially, think about in your family, in religion, in business, in politics. Like, think about all the expectations that exist. Expectations are really about a level of control. Think about how people use expectations to control us. And how many expectations are just assumed or implied, but they're never really spoken truths, and they're not always something that you've agreed to or that someone else has agreed to just because you have an expectation of it. Expectations can collapse timelines, they can tighten the field. Expectations can interfere with the mechanics of creation. And every single one of us, think about this, every single one of us has been trained to expect as a way to feel safe. If I have an expectation and someone meets that expectation, there's this alchemy of, oh, then we're safe and we're in control and things are turning out how we think they should. So tonight we're going to dismantle that programming and replace it with the real engines of manifestation: knowing, identity, neutrality, soft desire, and somatic inevitability. The frequency of course it's going to happen. It cannot not happen. My identity already lives there. My reality is just catching up. This isn't mindset, this isn't manifestation, or this isn't affirmations. This is nervous system truth. This is your body, your heart, and your mind, and your soul, and your energy all coming into coherent alignment. So when your identity aligns, when your nervous system feels safe, when your desire is grounded instead of worshipped, when you stop performing for external validation, when you stop expecting reality to behave a certain way, something shifts. I know I've experienced that. It just showed up like a couple of different times this past week and weekend. So reality rearranges not because you pushed it, but because you became the version it must respond to. Your nervous system changed and regulated. Your identity shifted. Your choices changed. Who you're showing up as, who you're reflecting, how you're being, what you're choosing. Once you change those things, even just little micro shifts, little nano tiny shifts, reality starts to shift and show up different for you. So before we begin, let's drop into our bodies again. So take a deep breath, lower all your walls and barriers and expand out. Feel your spine lengthen. Allow your breath in and out to be slow. In for 4, out for 4. And then ground yourself just a little bit. Connect to the earth. And whisper this into your chest. I am here. I am safe to learn a new way. I am ready to see what I couldn't see before. I am ready to see and receive what I couldn't see or receive before. Because tonight we're not talking about wanting something, we're talking about becoming the version of you that makes it inevitable. Good. All right. So let's begin with something that may change the illusion for you. Expectations are the ego trying to control reality. Manifestation is consciousness allowing reality to reorganize. This is the first truth that most people never learn. They think, oh, if I just expect it to show up, it's going to show up for me. Expectation is not the same thing as believing. Expectation is not the same thing as knowing. And expectation is never the same thing as manifesting. And I'm talking about too, like, how many of us have had expectations that come from anxiety, or we have expectations that come from insecurity? Like, have you ever had it where someone didn't text you back and you went into like all the stinking thinking thoughts, or your nervous system started, or something didn't show up for you the way you expected it to, and your nervous system just got extremely inflamed and dysregulated and sort of took you offline for a little while? That's what expectations can do. Expectation is forcing, and manifestation is allowance in the field. So like creation with manifestation is just like a flow. Expectation is heavy to force. Expectation says it has to happen this way, that way, by this time, and with that outcome. And then if it doesn't happen that way, what happens? We get dysregulated. We get discombobulated. So manifestation says, of course it's happening, and the how will surprise me. Expectation, when you're in expectation, you're not willing to be surprised. You're not willing to receive something in a way that you would have never thought that it could have showed up for you. It could have been better than you could have ever imagined, but because your expectation was that it was supposed to be this way, you probably will get something smaller than what could have actually been created for you, could have manifested for you. Expectations grip, and manifestation, creation expand. Expectations contract the nervous system, and manifestation anchors the nervous system, grounds it. You feel grounded. Expectations demand proof, and manifestation is the proof through our identity. So what are you identifying with, or how are you identifying, or who are you identifying as? Expectation is the number one manifestation block across every lineage. So like Neville Goddard, Florence Shinn, Joseph Murphy, Napoleon Hill, Abraham Hicks, Vadim Zeland, Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, whomever you look at and read and follow for manifestation, or whoever is teaching you or you've heard or listened to about manifestation, they pretty much are all saying the same thing. The moment you expect, you collapse possibility, and the moment you know, you're in your knowing and awareness, you open the field. So expectation is not the universe listening to your desire. Expectation is your fear monitoring the timeline. Expectation is the mind trying to predict so it doesn't feel vulnerable. Expectation is your inner child trying to guarantee safety. Expectation is your ego trying to protect the wound that says, if I don't get it, something is wrong with me, or I'm not good enough. Expectation is a trauma response, not a creation response. Expectation tries to choreograph the universe. Manifestation collaborates with it. And I think I know for myself, I have felt the difference between when I'm in expectation and that grabby, like needy energy, and when I'm in collaboration with the universe. There's way more ease when I'm in collaboration. Expectation checks the mirror. Manifestation becomes the reflection the mirror adjusts to. Expectation is small. Manifestation is structural. Expectation is survival. And manifestation, again, is identity. So expectation as the physics of interference. Energetically, expectation tightens the field, spikes importance. So it takes like excess energy, excess potential, and it puts it on the importance of something happening or occurring, or having the expectation of it happening or occurring. And again, that's different than the lightness of course it's going to happen for me. Of course that's going to show up. But when you're in that energy of course it's going to show up, you don't really think about things. There aren't really thoughts to it. There's just ease, and you go about your day. You're not trying to control anything. And I get it. It's hard to get there, especially when your nervous system is offline or you really need something, or it feels like it's going to be life or death. It's really hard to be out of expectation, be out of that need, be out of that feeling of I have to control it so that I can feel safe. Expectation triggers cortisol. Expectation sends a lack frequency of it's not here yet. Why is it not here yet? Expectation collapses possibility into one rigid pathway. Expectation is not infinite possibilities. Infinite possibilities can feel scary because that's in a place where we're out of control. Infinite possibilities isn't us trying to make something happen. Again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't take aligned action toward what it is that we're asking for, or saying yes to things that show up. But when you come up against the choice, always ask a question. It's like yesterday when Quinn was saying, I don't want to go to work tomorrow, I asked him a question and I'm like, okay, what does your body say? Like your mind right now is tired and you just want to go home and go to bed and not have to wake up early in the morning. But if you tap in and ask your knowing and ask your body to really help you with the decision and the choice, what is the answer that you get then? And he said, okay, yes, I should go to work tomorrow. So sometimes our minds are not, like we're misidentifying and misapplying what is really true. And when we're thinking, that's not our knowing. Expectations generate resistance, and expectations make the body brace instead of receive. Expectation is literally an interruption in consciousness. It's you stepping between your desire and the field with your hands on your hips, and you're saying, do it my way or I don't feel safe. And the field says, you're not ready. So expectation is control and manifestation is coherence. Expectations come from fear, manifestation and creation comes from identity. Expectation is the ego trying to manage what God, source, the field, the universe already resolved. Expectation is pressure disguised as positivity. Expectation is urgency disguised as certainty. Expectation is the mind saying, if I don't control the timeline, I cannot trust it. Manifestation is the body saying, of course it's happening. It cannot not happen. The timeline is already mine. Expectation collapses the magic. Identity opens it. Expectation checks. Manifestation becomes. Expectation tries to predict the future. Manifestation selects the timeline and walks into it. Whew. That's the shift I'm in right now, where I just select the timeline and walk into it. And be patient, because the universe has to reorganize reality for me. So expectation is the ego demanding a guarantee, and manifestation is the soul giving a command. Expectation says, what if it doesn't happen? And manifestation says, how could it not? Expectation is checking the scoreboard. Manifestation is knowing the game is already won. Expectation is interference, and manifestation is inevitability. Okay, so I'm going to go through what some of the what some of my teachers talk about with expectation. So Neville Goddard talks about assumption, not expectation. Neville Goddard never said, expect your manifestation. Neville Goddard taught, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. So that's like shifting your identity to, who am I? How do I feel? How do I act? How do I choose? How do I behave? As if the thing that I'm asking for has already actualized. So if I want to have a certain situation in a relationship happen, I have to first shift myself into that person that has already created that thing occurring. How would I behave if this interaction or if this relationship were to behave in a certain way? So for instance, I struggle in my relationship with my dad, but I saw him on Saturday and he and I had a great interaction, but it was because I allowed my nervous system to feel safe. I told myself that I am safe even though I was around my father. So the interaction between us was very different because I didn't have my walls and barriers up. I wasn't guarded. I was more interested. I didn't have to be interesting. I knew what to expect out of him. See, you can have expectations, but it's like have an expectation of what someone has already taught you or shown you. And then be open, though, to them changing or teaching you something different as well. So staying in the flow of receiving, but also walking in as if you, like, I already know. I already know how my Father is going to behave. I can show up and feel safe in that knowing. If he chooses to change, I'm willing to receive and be pleasantly surprised, which I was. But I believe that that change in him occurred when my energy was different and I could show up in that way. Now, it exhausted me. Like, I came home and the next day did basically nothing because it was exhausting. But at the same time, I didn't spiral out or feel abused in a situation. Okay? I changed my identity first before I showed up to the party. So Neville Goddard says, expectation looks for evidence and assumption is the evidence. So just because reality isn't showing you what you think it should, so that you have proof that what you're asking for is showing up, you just go about your life assuming that it's going to show up. It doesn't mean that it has yet, although in the future, your future self is already sitting there with it. But you're not looking for the evidence of it showing up. And if you're in a thread of information, like if there's something that you're asking for and you have information that's coming in, then it's just information and you ask more questions. Or you go to, isn't this interesting? You're not constantly scanning for it. You yourself are becoming the one the mirror, the universe, reality must reflect. I became the identity of what I wanted my Father to reflect. So the situation turned out better for me. And it turned out actually better than I could have expected, or did expect, or thought it could. So Neville Goddard's core principle was or is, you don't expect your desire, you embody it. You occupy the state of it. You walk as the one who already has it. Amanda and I did something fun over the weekend. We worked with AI to build like images or avatars of the men that we want to have in our future. And the image that showed up for me, I was like, ooh, am I the identity of who I think that man would pick? And I'm working on it, but I don't think that I am 100% completely. But it was a very interesting exercise. And now when I'm going out or when I'm shopping or at the gym, I'm noticing myself like showing up a little bit differently because I'm like, he could be right around the corner and I need to be the person that man would want to show up for, like that man that would want to be like, hey, there's that lady I've been looking for, you know. But it's like that. It's like, are you the walking, talking magnet of the thing that you're wanting to attract or that you're wanting to create or that you're wanting to manifest? It's sort of like me in these classes and being out online and being the invitation for other people to join me in these calls. Like, am I the one who's showing up that people will want to choose to teach them something in their lives? To teach them something, am I someone who they could receive from, who they could feel safe with, who they could feel vulnerable enough with, who they could drop all their walls and barriers enough with to hear? Okay. So expectation watches the world, and in Neville Goddard's terms, assumption, like living in the state of having already received it, rewrites the world. You rewrite the world when you show up differently than everybody else, or a different version of yourself. Okay, so another teacher that I follow is Florence Scovel Shinn, or Scovell Shinn. And she was all about faith and release. And she said, your word is your wand. Nothing stands between you and your spoken word. And she also said, it will return to you in the perfect way and at the perfect time. So expectation grips timing, and faith releases timing. And expectation says, I want it now. And faith says, it's already on the way. I don't need to supervise it. So command the energy and release the method. Joseph Murphy is another one, another teacher. And he said, impress the subconscious, don't expect. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious mind manifests impressions, not demand. The subconscious rejects expectation because expectation comes from the conscious mind, the weakest part of your creative power. Expectation equals conscious strain. Impression equals subconscious acceptance. And to me, that translation is your identity. Like that, your identity is the impression of that subconscious acceptance. Impression is created through identity, repetition, emotion, imagery, neutrality, and somatic coherence. So bring your body with you. So you don't expect your way into a new reality, you impress it into your body. Napoleon Hill was another one. Burning desire plus non-interference. He said, do not concern yourself with the how. I get stuck in that loop quite a bit. Expectation attaches to how. How. Manifestation releases how. Desire creates identity. Expectation creates pressure. So I think next week we'll probably go through the 4Ds. But before we did that, I kind of wanted to get us through expectation. So desire fuels you and expectation strangles you. Abraham Hicks said, expectation without resistance. Abraham is the only teacher who uses the word expectation, but they clarified expectation works only when vibration is clean, meaning expectation from fear equals chaos, Expectation from resistance equals gridlock. Expectation from identity wobbling equals delay. So their real teaching is when you know it's yours, you'll naturally expect it, but it's not from that need or that want or that lack energy. I think they're basically saying the same as, of course it's going to happen. If expectation triggers panic, drop it. Return to neutral knowing. Expectation only works when your field is clean and clear. Otherwise, it's sabotage disguised as optimism. So Bruce Lipton, who talks a lot and teaches a lot about epigenetics, says biology, bringing in your body with this, right? Biology does not respond to expectation. Lipton says your body manifests what your biology, your belief system expects or accepts. Your body manifests what your biology, your belief system accepts. So expectation does nothing biologically because expectation equals pressure. Pressure triggers cortisol. Cortisol equals fight or flight. Fight or flight shuts down creation pathways and halts manifestation. So your cells respond to belief, faith, identity, environment, emotional frequency, and nervous system state. Expectation dysregulates your biology. Expectation is a stress response. Your body doesn't manifest under stress, it survives. You go into survival mode. Vadim Zealand with Reality Transurfing said expectation equals excess potential. Expectation is literally a break in the energetic balance of the field. So if something is really super important, you put a lot of energy on it, a lot of excess potential. And then excess potential triggers balancing forces. Balancing forces remove the thing that you're gripping. So let's say you need or want some money. And if you put all your eggs in that basket, if you put all your energy in that hope, that desire, that I've got to make it happen, you're not relaxed, the opposite of that is going to occur. It's going to slow everything down. It's not going to happen fast. It's like, I want to use the example of something, but I'm not sure if I should. I'm asking. Hang on. So I'll use my own life as an example. My son, when he was in high school, was dating this gal, and he dated her for years, and there were some times where their relationship was really good, and then there were other times where I could just see that it was not good. And it got to the point to where his ex-girlfriend would come into my house and I would see her and she wouldn't even say hi to me. And so at one point I did tell him, like, that's not okay with me, and you can either have a conversation with her or I'll have a conversation with her. And everything with their relationship and my relationship with her and my relationship with him and the whole dynamic of it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I sort of started to spiral out, wanting them to break up. I know that sounds horrible, but it was like I could see that they weren't really great for each other anymore. And I was feeling like my boundaries were not being respected when she would come around. And so I wanted all of that to end. And for a while, I put a lot of energy toward it ending. Like I had an attitude when she'd come over, and the tension, there was just so much energy. I couldn't relax. I wasn't relaxing. So finally, I just let it go, and I got into that state of they're not going to stay together forever. It's just not showing up right now, and I have to be patient and wait for it to show up. And eventually it did with total ease. I mean, it was like maybe 6 months later. But I didn't have to say anything. I didn't have to have a conversation. It just happened organically and in a good way. And in a way where Quinn wasn't upset by it and everything was amicable. And the same thing happened to me recently. I required a sum of money to pay some bills. I didn't have it. I was hyper vigilantly obsessed on it. And when I let go and loosened it up and said, everything's going to turn out, it just is, or I'm going to move, or whatever. Then it showed up it just dropped in. I let go. I wasn't putting excess potential. I wasn't putting excess energy. I didn't have an expectation. I let go of everything. And I just said, okay. I let it flow. And then it came in. So every time you're putting a lot of importance and you're putting a lot of significance and you're putting a lot of energy, excess potential towards something, the opposite ends up having to occur, and it slows everything down. So the universe has to balance it out somehow, some way. So it's such a huge skill for us to learn, because a lot of times what can happen for people is the balance can be so disruptive and not fun for us. You know, I've had that too, where it's like, God damn, I did not want or need a surgery. Well, that sucks, but the balance had to come in. Okay. So expectation is importance dressed up as manifesting. When you expect, you worship the outcome, you fear its absence, you attach to timing, you over-involve the mind, and you choke the energy flow. So drop the expectation, drop the importance, and the world bends for neutrality. It's like with excitement too. Like if something comes in and you get overly excited about it, just wait. Like around the corner, you're going to have something show up that'll balance that out for you. Try to stay a little more neutral next time. Oh, like with relationships, right? I've had it so many times where I'll be so excited about this guy and just be like all in and just like lose everything. And then it's not the right thing. It's like love bombing and all sorts of horrible imbalances coming in. Oh, okay. Yes, Amanda.
So as you were sharing all of that earlier, I wrote some notes, and what I kept hearing was that worthiness is the baseline foundation of manifestation. Like when I don't feel worthy of receiving something, like that's the dissonance in the field that I'm sending out.
Yeah, that's
If
part of,
I know, like my knowing of I am that I am, and because I exist, I'm worthy, like there's no proving to it.
yeah.
I can have what I want from that place, and then the coherence comes in after that. That's how my brain understands it. What are your reflections on worthiness in this conversation?
So take that all the way to your entire identity. Like
Hmm.
it's not a feeling of worthiness. It's how you identify. So can you identify as worthy?
Hmm.
That's the that's the main part of it. You because I can go in and out of feeling worthy all the time. My
Yeah.
goal is to shift into and I identify as worthy.
Yeah. And to get there for me, like I've been walking through clearing limiting beliefs that I'm not worthy. And that can create the block, even though I'm desiring something and I trust that it's coming. And yet there's still this underlying sniggly, limiting belief of, I don't know, there's some hooks there that trip up the process.
Yeah. So that's part of your subconscious. Part it's part subconscious, it's part somatic, and it's part of that identify piece. So it's like start walking around asking, how do I identify with this? Or who do I identify as? It's sort of like sitting in the mirror and asking for 10 minutes a day while you're staring at yourself, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Because what's happening, what I'm finding is what's happening is if we're not identifying as worthy, we we're still not sure of who we are in our identity. So
Hmm.
how much of yourself do you not actually know is you? Like how much of you is still programmed and how much of you is that I am piece that you said?
That could be a whole class in and of itself.
That's what we're doing. This is the whole class. This is all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of this is all alchemy to get us to identify as the I am. But part of it is understanding where we have programs, beliefs,
Mhm.
subconscious beliefs still running. Because if you're not able to acknowledge what those things are, you
Yeah.
cannot change them.
Yeah. Thank
So,
you.
yeah, so all of these classes, hopefully, like you just said, like you just had like that little aha moment. So, all of these classes and what I'm teaching and how I'm teaching them and why sometimes I repeat myself is my desire is that we all have these aha moments where we can really pinpoint our identity. This is who I am without all of the programs, without all of the beliefs, without all of the subconscious trauma and triggers running. And then to say, okay, oh, that's running that way because that's a trauma, or that's running that way because it's a trigger. I don't have to identify as it. It doesn't have to become part of my identity. I can observe it and I can say, oh, that's that piece. And it's all right if it bubbles up and it's all right if it creates a disturbance for a moment. But then it's like, how long do you stay in that state of dysregulation or disturbance? And the longer you stay in that state, then the more you identify with it, and the more you identify with it, and the more you identify with it, and then that's who you start showing up as, and then you just keep showing up as that piece, that part. But it's not really a part of you. It's not really a piece of you. It's not even really yours. Some of it is stuff that could have happened to you, like all of the traumas and things that have happened to me in my life. I'm not in anyone's life, in your life, in Natalie's life, in Amy's life, in whomever's life. I'm not saying that those things aren't real, and I'm not saying that those aren't things that happened to you and partially molded you in this reality in this lifetime. But what I'm saying for myself is I no longer desire to have those things have such a hold on my identity. I want to identify as a person who is worthy, who can show up, who does not have fear, who does not get triggered. Because most of the time when I'm triggered by something, it's not even really real in the moment. It's because of something that's happened in the past. And so then I'm identifying with that person that I was in the past. And I no longer want to identify with that person. I want to identify with the person in the future.
Like the world is running around on dysregulated nervous systems, bumping into each other's traumas, triggering the fuck out of each other. And there's such a greater possibility than that. It's such a circus. Like, and it can get messy really fast. Like, okay, well, what am I responsible for? What are they responsible for? If they're not willing to take responsibility, I have to take responsibility for their part. It's like tricky, this subconscious work of clearing out the cobwebs of what's true, what's real, what's mine, what's not. How do I feel? Does that matter?
Yeah.
What do I communicate? What do I don't? What's the correct choice?
Right. And if you don't know who you are and you aren't building your identity as who you want to identify as, all of that stuff is going to fuck with you.
Like getting blown around in a windstorm.
Right. But if you know who you
Instead of being
are,
anchored, like rooted in, like this is who I am. You can have your shit over there that might come my way, but I get to fling it off. Like really strong boundaries.
exactly. And
Clear.
non-negotiables.
And clarity is important for having those strong boundaries and knowing it's okay to voice them, that worthiness piece.
Exactly. But if you don't know who you are, all of that is going to be wobbly in the field. It's going to be very confusing for you, for the other person, for the universe.
Woo! Thank you. Super
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah. So, did anyone want to take a break for a minute and go use the restroom? Okay, let's take a 5-minute break. We'll come back in 5 minutes. So, why expectation fucks up manifestation energetically? Expectation is a fear response, not a creation response. Expectation isn't coincidence. Expectation is the ego trying to guarantee safety. The inner dialogue of expectation is, if I can predict the outcome, I won't get hurt. If I expect it, maybe I can control it. If I expect it, maybe the disappointment will hurt less. Expectation is not desire. Expectation is the anticipatory fear and fear collapses manifestation. Because fear says to the quantum field, I don't believe it's mine yet, which is the exact frequency of not having it. Expectation creates contraction somatically and energetically. In the body, expectation produces pressure, tightening, vigilance, scanning, checking, cortisol, shallow breath, upper body tension, and tunnel vision. This is not a creative state, it is a survival state. You cannot manifest from survival. You can only manifest from coherence. When you expect, your field shrinks. When you know, your field expands. So I think too, think about all the times you're upset by someone who reacts or does something in a certain way. And then ask yourself, did I have or do I have an expectation that they should respond differently, behave in a different way? I've heard people so many times say, can you believe they did that? That's an expectation. Can you believe that they did that thing? Especially in our society, because we have so many societal norms that we're all supposed to live around and function within and behave as. And then we have people that are out there in the world who show up and say, well, why didn't they know any better? Or why did they do it that way? And it's like, well, why do you have the expectation that they should know how to behave? Or why do you have the expectation that they should know what to do or how to do it? Have they shown you that they have that awareness, that knowing, that training, that behavioral pattern? Have they shown you that that's how they were raised? That's what their normal is? Probably not. So again, what you can expect, is what someone shows you who they are and how they are going to behave and what their nervous system can handle. And when you're in a state of non-expectation, and when your barriers are down, and when you're expanded out, and when your identity is, I'm going to observe, and I'm going to see patterns, and I'm going to watch, and I'm going to know, and I'm going to live in a state of no expectations, which is so different than what everyone and everything in society is going to tell you. But if you live in a state of, I'm not going to be in fear of uncertainty, and I'm not going to be surprised by things, I'm going to be in awareness, and I'm going to watch, and I'm going to see, and I'm going to observe, then when people act out, or they act up, or they act in a way, or choose or behave in a way that doesn't align and agree with things, you're not going to be surprised by it, and you're going to be able to move through it way more quickly. And then you get to become the puppet master, because you're going to know what to do to change a situation. You're going to know what to say. You're going to know how to diffuse something. You're going to know how to direct someone. So expectation also is a lack of frequency. Expectation looks like coherence, but metaphysically, expectation is saying, I don't have it yet, and I'm anxious until I do. Expectation carries urgency, timeline pressure, attachment, fear of disappointment, dependency on the outcome. How many of us and how many times have we been dependent on the outcome? It has to show up this way. It has to happen this way, or else I don't feel safe. Expectation vibrates at "it's not here yet," which is exactly what the field mirrors back. So this is a little bit of quantum mechanics. Expectation collapses timelines. In quantum theory, expectation narrows probability too quickly. Expectation forces one path. Manifestation requires multiple paths, infinite possibilities. So when you expect, you contract the wave of possibilities into a singular, rigid outcome. You have to stop letting that be of importance. And because when you do that, when you create a singularity, you're not allowing reality to rearrange itself around you for the best possibility ever. You're taking control instead of letting go and allowing reality to have the control, the universe to have control. So the universe then loses the space to deliver unexpected solutions and possibilities, which may be far greater than what you were even asking for in the first place. So I think it was last week I was talking about how Quinn and I manifested like $30,000 in just a short period of time. And we did that. I never expected it could be that amount. Like, honestly, I thought it was going to be far less than that, but I also let go of my expectation of what it was going to be. And I said, no matter what it is, we're going to make it work. And then that allowed the universe to rearrange itself to show up in a far greater way than I could have ever imagined. So expectation is micromanaging the quantum field. And the quantum field does not respond to micromanagement. Okay. Expectation activates balancing forces. So when you put importance on an outcome, you create excess potential. Expectation equals importance plus control plus fear. And all of that is the equation for excess potential. Excess potential is unstable, and the field must correct it. Balancing forces show up as then delays, reversals, disappointments, loss of momentum, almost but not quite, and opportunities that fall through. So again, yes, there's negative excess potential, but there's also positive excess potential. Like when we get too excited about something, it's sort of like that old belief too. I can't remember who teaches it mostly, but it's like don't tell very many people. And I I did that this last time with something. I told too many people something. So don't feel like you have to like talk about it with everyone. Talk about it maybe just with a couple, very few people who you know are not going to collapse the timeline on you, who aren't going to collapse the possibility on you. Because other people's energy then can also play into that as well. Okay? They can create delays and they can have energy that does not contribute. Especially if they have points of view or judgments. If they can't stay in infinite possibilities, like if they can't stay in that vastness, if their nervous systems cannot hold that space with you, do not tell them. Like, I think I share things with Amanda, but I know that she will just go to, most of the time, oh, that's interesting. Or of course it's going to happen. Or she'll say, what else is possible? Like Amanda doesn't, and I feel that we do this for each other, like we don't go to singularities and we don't go to fear and we don't go to, we just go to different possibilities. Especially if it's like something that's negative showing up, we're like, well, what about this, or what about that, or what about, there's never a one thing that could happen. So just be careful who you share things with, because they can collapse timelines too. They can collapse timelines for you. But
I got something about the word importance.
yeah.
So I got importance equals you are importing it into your reality. Like thinking about the etymology of like that's the baseline import of importance, like thinking about importing things into the country or importing things into your household. Like you're bringing it towards you. You're calling it in when you make something important. Like when you were talking about when you put importance on something, it magnifies its potential, or it gives it excess potential into that singularity point.
Yeah, so like if you're making a negative something super important, you mean? Yeah, so you're like
Yeah.
swaying, like when, okay, so in this reality, this universe is a polarity universe and it loves balance. So even if it's good, positive, or negative, like if you put excess potential on something positive and you make it too important, if you make it overly important, something has to come in to regulate the balance of that. Okay? And it's going to happen in our lives all the time. I've shared with you the wonderful story about my son getting into college and going to play lacrosse and getting a $30,000, manifesting that amount, blah, 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 blah. He just found out on Friday that his college is cutting lacrosse. Our whole lives is going to be a regulation of balancing. There is never going to be a time when things are just for a long period of time. There will be something, and it doesn't have to be great. Like if you're in a state of neutral most of the time, if you're balancing things really well and you're not making one thing overly important than another, then the sway of the field, it doesn't have to get so high and so low to create a balance. It can just be like this. Okay, this is the physics of manifestation. So if you don't do these spikings, if you don't do the spike and the dive, spike and dive, spike and dive, and you just go, whoo, I'm just gonna weave. I'm gonna weave in and out, then the balance that has to come in to regulate doesn't have to be so grand. The distance between those, like the relation between those energies, doesn't have to be so wide, so vast. Now I used to really love the spiking. I used to live for the highs and the lows. Like I was really feeling life then. If things were like super super high for a while and then they'd crash and go really super low, and it was just like the breath of life, and I just loved it. It was like, yeah, it was like so good to be like whoosh, 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 like up and down and woo. And now I'm in this part in my life where I want it to be a little more neutral. I don't want the highs and lows to be so crazy anymore. And it doesn't mean that I still have a lot of work to do with it. Like I still have a lot of work to do with the highs and lows. I'm still regulating my nervous system, and that's part of it. See, like the more we can regulate our nervous systems, the more we can breathe through things, the more we can allow for uncertainties to not upset us and not make us feel unsafe and all of those things, the less we have the spikes and the dives. Then we just have these more flows. So yes, when you put importance on something, you are importing it. It can be either positive or negative. When you put too much importance on something, the opposite is going to come in and create a balance there. Are you okay, Amanda? Yeah? Okay. So expansion confuses the subconscious mind, or expectation. I'm sorry, expansion. Whew, I think I'm getting tired. All right, we're going to have to close up soon here. And I'm not even halfway through. Okay. Expectation confuses the subconscious mind. So Joseph Murphy taught that subconscious mind fulfills impressions, not demands. Expectation sends two opposite signals. I want this, and I'm afraid it won't happen. So the subconscious cannot work with contradiction. Expectation is contradiction. So desire is clear. Expectation is mixed. And when you are not sure about your own identity, when you don't know who you are, when you don't know what your boundaries are, when you don't know what it is that you want, when you're wobbling in life, that creates contradiction. And when you are aware of who you are, your desires become very clear. Crystal clear. And those things can change, of course, as you age, as things come in and out of your life, your desires can change. But I think once you get a great hold on your identity, once you get a very clear understanding of who you are, you start to really understand then what it is that you want to create, what you're here to create, what your purpose is, you stop wobbling as much and you have less expectations. And then you don't have mixed signals. Because when you have mixed signals, you get mixed results. And my life has been that way. Okay. Let's close up for tonight. I just want to get to our little bit of closing here. I always write a lot. This is funny. Okay. Where are we at? So the practice and the closing is going to be this, the 3 gates of manifestation. So this is a guided somatic energetic sequence to embody knowing, neutrality, and 0 expectation. So close your eyes and ground yourself. And again, place one hand on your heart and one hand on your lower belly. And we're going to breathe. And in your knowing, go to that knowing place, that knowing state between the cells and on a cellular level, an energetic level, a soul level. And within your identity alignment, bring in one desire into your awareness. Not all of them, just one. The one that is calling to you tonight. Now feel the version of you who already lives in that reality. Not the fantasy, not the expectation. I want you to go to the identity of that person who already has that. The version of you for whom this desire is normal. Feel how you breathe. Feel how you hold yourself. How do you move throughout your day? And how do you speak? And how do you receive with that desire as your normal? Let your body whisper this. Of course it's happening. It cannot not happen. Allow that inevitability to land. This is not belief. This is not hope. This is identity. Breathe into the version of you who already is this outcome. Good. When you're ready, you can come back to the room. Cool. So yes. So the purpose of talking about expectation is to build upon that piece of us that's creating the identity of who we actually are, who you actually are. And when you can start to really observe your expectations, you can start to let them go. You can actualize the piece and the part of you that's asking questions and asking, where does this expectation come from? Why do I have it? Is it mine? Is it a program? Is it somehow embedded in my subconscious mind? Is it cultural? Is it a societal thing? Just start to observe this week and look at all of your expectations. And then see what changes and comes up for you. And see how and where you identify with those expectations. All right. Thank you all for being here tonight. Mwah. I hope you have a great week.
Thank you, Rebecca.
You're welcome.
Love you.
Love you too, honey. I love your teddy bear.
There's many. There's rabbit.
Oh, it's a rabbit.
There's frog.
Aw.
And bear.
Aw, they're so cute.
They sleep on the floor.
Were they from when you were little?
No, they're adult stuffies. My support stuffies.
Yeah. They're so cute.
Yeah. Keeps the child in me alive.
Mm-hmm. That'll never go away with you.
Sure.
All right. Love you guys. Mwah.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Bye.